Hello and welcome to another art video. Today we are working on a very special project. It is a little poster, a nail art poster, as you may have noticed from the title of this video. So I have started with an A3 size watercolor paper, and this is a 300 gram watercolor paper, so it's very heavy. And I'm making it thoroughly wet. This is a new technique for me. I know it's nothing new for most of you, but for me, I've never used this kind of technique where I wet the whole paper. I usually tape my paper down. But I've been watching a lot of artists painting this way recently, and I wanted to try it myself, So that's what I'm doing here. I'm wetting the paper really well, kind of picking some of the water up with my paintbrush. And also, as you can see, I'm checking the paper a bit because there have been a little, you can also see it if you look really closely at the edges of the paper. There are like brown splotches appearing, and I'm still not sure what it is. I'm guessing it's just because the paper is so extremely wet. They disappear in the end, so yeah, you can see it really clearly now at the very bottom edge of the paper. On the sides, if you look from the actual painting direction, they really disappear, so there's nothing big happening there. But I was really panicking at that point. I figured, if anything there, I could always paint a little bit of white over them and it will be fine. So I'm putting in a first layer of paint and kind of letting it play in the wet paper and mingle, and kind of creating an underpainting to get the feel where all the colors should go, and kind of starting up a gradient, because the idea for this painting is that I'm taking, like, I look through the designs. Okay, maybe I should actually start from the beginning. This painting is a present for a nail artist friend of mine who just moved in with her boyfriend. They bought a house, and this is her housewarming gift from me, because in this house she has her nail art studio, her first nail art studio. She became a professional not so long ago, and I wanted to kind of celebrate it. And what better way is, than to actually paint some of her designs in a bit of a watercolor way. So I've actually chosen, her design, some of my favorite designs of the huge list that she has, and I arranged them in this gradient way. So they're blues and kind of like greens in the middle, and then reds at the bottom. And forgive me my voice, I'm a little bit, I have a bit of a raspy voice. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm kind of trying to get the feel of the gradient by doing those thin layers of paint, and kind of, smearing them also around the nails. I didn't want this to be a sharp painting, even though her designs are very sharp and clean. I really wanted this to have the watercolor kind of artsy feel, so that it's not a real copy. It's like an artistic interpretation of her designs, kind of like a different feel, kind of different take on them. And that's why I'm kind of like first putting very thin layers of paint, and while building them up, I'm kind of focusing them more into the nail shape, so that you have the colors they are very sharp on the nail, but they're still kind of like spreading outside of it and kind of tying all of those designs together. That was my initial idea. Of course, some of the colors are not really, combining correctly, like they're the green and red. That was a bit of a, not a very good idea for me. They didn't want to mingle correctly, but most of the colors are, they're greens and blues. They're really nicely combining together, and there was grays and blues, reds and yellows. So I'm really happy at this point with what's happening on the paper. So as the paper is drying, I am adding more focused color, like I said. So here I'm trying to create a bit of a galaxy, at least first layers of the galaxy. So I'm putting big layers of paint and then dropping a few drops of water and letting it sit, because that's the best way to create a galaxy. And then I'm starting on the gradients, because a lot of those designs I like have gradients on them, and the gradients are best created by just adding thin layers of paints over each other. So that's what I'm doing, kind of building it up very slowly. And while painting those designs, I'm trying to stay as close as possible to the original colors. It's not always possible, but I'm doing my best, as best as I can. And also, I'm kind of in a few, especially in this case, I'm actually mixing two nail designs together. I didn't notice it until much later. It's no problem because it's, you know, it's an artistic interpretation, so it's allowed. But I was kind of, you know, I didn't notice. That's what really got to me. I didn't even notice. For me, this was one design. And I'm just trying to get those, make the colors a bit sharper, not sharper, vibrant. That's the good. And a tip: never try using pencil on damp paper. It's not a very good idea. It didn't tear, but I could feel the paper was at its limit, even though I was very gentle. And you can see here clearly what I meant by the underpainting. You can see how much the thin layers of paint have spread. And by building up on top of that, you know, there is this nice, I don't know, sense of unity of the design. I'm sorry. The design kind of is tied together nicely. So the paper is still rather damp at this point. Not to the point that actually the paint spreads just a really tiny bit, but it still allowed me to kind of add those first layers of the real, you know, the real painting. Because before I get to the details, I'm painting the background first. Let's put it this way. So that's what this is. This is just the background for the future details, and I wanted to dry completely before I actually start anything else. And instead of working one nail by one, at this point I'm working on basic details of every single one of those nails, just to make sure that everything kind of is tied together, because really, if you think about it, each one of those nails is a separate painting. So here I'm cleaning up some of this stuff. I'm trying to unify them, and if you can see, it's really nicely tying everything together. The colors are really nicely tied together. I'm trying to use the same greens next to each other, and by adding, see here I'm adding the same blue to two nails. And by doing that, even though those nails are not exactly the same as in the original ones, on this painting, they really tie everything together. And that was very important for me, to make everything, you know, feel as it belongs together. And this is the nail I was talking about. This nail doesn't even exist. It's a completely different design, and you will see it in a minute when I add the original next to it. It's still pretty. I am not gonna complain. And by this point, I still want to keep adding more layers of paint. I want this to be more vibrant before I go on to the details. And I really like how you can still see the background splotches underneath. It really gives that watercolor feel. I'm really combining lots of words today. I was kind of struggling with this one particular nail just because it has so many colors on it, and even though I like the way, because it really fits in that position, I kind of didn't want to the orange and red and yellow didn't want to cooperate with me. So when the background is done, I'm starting to work on the nails, just one by one, just finishing the little details. And next to every single nail I'm working on, I'm going to put this original nail design, just so you can see what it's supposed to be. And as you can see, this nail is completely inverted, and it's not the right shape even. It's because I actually looked at a different nail with exact same. It's just the idea. She does a lot of those gradient glitter things, so it doesn't really matter. But I thought it was really funny because this was the shape of the nail, and this direction of the gradient comes from a different nail, while the colors come from this one. So it made me laugh a bit. So here I'm using a watered down white watercolor and then white gouache to create this glitter effect with a little bit of Copic marker underneath for the shadows. And I think it did a pretty good job of creating a glitter effect without actually using glitter, which I was thinking of doing at the beginning, but then I thought, yeah, it would be too much, because then I would have to actually use the metallic paints and other glitters that she uses in her other nail designs, and that would be just too much. It wouldn't really get with the idea of it all being tied together and kind of matching. So every single nail is outlined with just a black fine liner, and then with a thinner fine liner to get this kind of sketchy effect. I wanted to look like a design, like kind of like a fashion sketch even, you could say. And then for the depth, I just added some Copic marker, and I'm adding it to every single nail. So at first I just kept adding it separately one by one, and then I just added to everything. So you can see me at some point. I stopped actually doing it on camera. And this is the Galaxy nails, but in her original design she has a lot of purples and greens, but they're metallic. So I just gone with the original kind of a bluish and slightly purple feel. And you have to forgive me for this picture to be really, really dark. It actually started storming about this time. Those flashes you see, this is actually not this is not the camera problem or lightning problem. This is actually a storm that's been going outside. And so forgive me for I didn't notice it was this dark until a bit further. As you can see here, I'm actually putting on artificial light, and this is the best I could do. So I was really bummed because it was a really big storm actually. At some point here, I think somewhere you can see me actually. Let me see. And yeah, exactly here. There was this huge, extremely big thunder that went just like really close by, and it scared me really badly. So it was this is a painting process full of how do you call it? Interesting things. So here's another nail. This one is actually, I should have gone for the little snowman, but I thought that the little snowman was a little bit too much for, there was not that much detail in any of the other nails. So, and I actually really like those snowy fields rather than the snowman. So that's what I went with. You know, this is just, I thought it was such a cute nail art. And I'm adding a lot of white gouache on top of the paper, because this paper with all these paints just stopped being really white. This paper is not white to begin with. That's why I like it so much, because the white gouache stands out. Stands out. It just you know, pops really nicely. And this is a really cute, you know, easy design. So, and it's done. It's done. Just a few little dots, and there it is. And the next nail is one of the favorites that I've painted out of all this poster. This is the she called it a rupee from Legend of Zelda, a rupee nail. And it's really cool design of this crystal, just a kind of like an animated crystal, the cartoon crystal. And it really does look like a rupee. And it was a lot of fun to paint. I had some problems at one point because I decided that the gradient was not enough, and I actually had to paint every single one of those sections separately. And I overdid it a little bit with the first one. You can see me adding way too much paint. And if you dry a puddle of paint like this with the heat gun, you can see there's this really ugly space, like a puddle in the middle of shiny paint. And what you can do is you can add a little bit of water and then just moisten it and paint it again, and it's going to be fine. As you can see, it's perfectly fine. Otherwise, it looked just really bad, like it was shiny, blah. And I'm adding just a bit of more water to every single section so that there is this gradation going on. And it looks more like a crystal now. And a little bit of white, just to finish it nicely. So this nail is, this nail was a little bit of a pickle. It was a problematic nail because this is like this chrome nail polish, which, you know, as you can see from the picture, it has all those different colors in it. It was a little bit of tricky to kind of recreate that effect, but I think I've done it pretty well, and she actually approved. So I'm happy because I had a problem with it, but it's a really simple design. But I really liked how you actually could see the chrome. Is it even called chrome? My god, I'm not a nail artist, but this color, I liked it. And then of course glitter with white gouache, because we like white gouache. Okay, this is probably one of the most relaxing nails I painted from all of them, just because I really like painting roses. And I've never painted roses until a while ago, and it's just so relaxing. So the original design has silver roses, but as I said before, with the glitter, it would be too much, and gray would be too dark. So I used white gouache instead of gray or silver, just because I thought it still keeps the design together, but it kind of, it ties in with the rest of the picture. So I love painting roses. It's so relaxing, and look, they're roses. I'm not even putting so much effort in it. It's just amazing. I really like the gradient on this nail. It actually came out perfectly, exactly the same as the gradient on her nail art picture, on her nails. And even I didn't really, there is a glitter on the original, but it would be too much, so I just painted the flowers. And also I've decided that there's like 2 shades of yellow on her nails, but I thought it would be too much. I didn't want to add another color, so I just added yellow, and it's pretty. This is probably one of my favorite, not even one, this is my favorite design she's ever made. This is so pretty, and it reminds me a bit of Victorian Lolita fashion. I really feel like inspired to actually paint a painting just based on this nail design. I might do it. So here I'm actually, because of the roses, they're on top of the stripes, I'm adding a layer of white gouache to kind of like, matte it. And then I'm adding the colors. Each color is kind of like a, cheaty gouache, because I'm adding a pigment, the watercolor, to white gouache, and that's what I'm painting with. That's why it's opaque. So I'm adding green to white gouache, and that's why it's opaque, and I can paint it on black stripes. So pretty. Okay, I actually considered painting this one by one. This is a glitter placement nail, and this is a bit really tricky. I'm still not sure. I should have done something different. Probably just made the lines a little bit more angled, so it actually looked like a bit rounded, because at the moment this looks to me, and I'm not even kidding, it looks to me like a dragon eggs from Game of Thrones, and I don't even watch Game of Thrones. so if you want to make dragon eggs nail art, that's your best bet. And this design is actually mine. I actually did the design. We did this collaboration. Oh my god, I lost the word. Collaboration over a year ago. And I've designed this nail, and she recreated it on her nails, and it's still my favorite. I love it, even though it's paint. But it's basically a citrus fruit on top of green with lots of white, and I had to add another layer of green with some gouache in it because of those splotches. As you can see, it covers perfectly anything beneath except that orange, but I can live with that. And then I'm adding just for the skins, is it called zest? No. Anyway, this skin is a little bit darker, so that's what I'm doing. This nail is super cute. These are so-called mini nails, like Minnie the Mouse, or from Disney. And I really love them. They are so extremely cute. And such an easy design. There's just some dots, which I'm making here with gouache, as you can see. And then just, red French and some little bow tie. How cute. And my, I say it about every single one of them, but it's the truth. I love every one of them. So this is also one of my favorites. It's the burlesque nail art. It's a corset that she made, and it's just it's such a simple design. If you think about it, anybody can paint that, but it's just so effective. And if you can see it on her nails, it just looks so gorgeous. So it's just a few just red with some lace on it, and that's it. And this is the finished artwork. It looks amazing, just put together. I didn't include all of the nails just because some of the footage was really dark, so I hope you will forgive me. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something, and I would really encourage trying to paint this because this is really easy to paint, and why not try it yourself for your own nail studio. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.
With one repair, it takes a while, like a pretty long while, for the durability to go back up. My other one has Moss 3 on it, and that repairs really, really quickly. 838 out of 1440, and we're still looking at 838. There it goes. It just went up one. Yeah, I think we might try and add that other moss on there, but I think